Okay, I feel like clicking on someone. I want to click someone. Yeah, right, Wargaming. Yeah, right. Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we are taking a look at the Aki, finally looking at this new hybrid battleship at tier 10. Japanese line, you're combining Yamato main guns alongside insane dive bombers. I don't even know what else to call them other than, what are we doing here, Wargaming? How did these get buffed over and over and over again? And on release too, something I really dislike when Wargaming makes these balance changes without any testing. So the final version of this ship is not what was played in testing. It's much better. And now we all have to deal with it. So 39,000 steel is how much is this one going to cost. So it's competing with Bremen and Hawaii, Valparaiso as well. And it certainly lives up to that comparison in terms of power level. All of these ships that have been released are absolutely insane. They are very good. So if you're looking for a hybrid battleship and you're a little sad that your Louisiana got nerfed after its release, well, here's a version that is better than initial Louisiana. And given how this drop reticle looks, the only advice I have to dealing with these strikes so you don't get 30k'd like this in comp is you have to be on the move, okay? See how long and narrow it is? You just have to force it to drop your broadside, okay? If you allow it to line up like this, it's just gonna smash you for a ridiculous amount of damage. That is way too much for one single mouse button input. Like, I fly over to him, click my mouse button, and he takes 30k. It's crazy. Anyways, I'm going to try not to rant about carrier plane balance too much in this one and talk more about the ship in particular. But the bomb damage is at 8,500 alpha damage. Comparing that to, say, Louisiana, that one's at 7,300 and already did a lot of damage when it hit. The thing about Louisiana is it's got a very inaccurate drop pattern, and so you miss a lot of your bombs. Not so here if we're lining up vertically on the ship coming in from the bow or the stern section. It also gets 48% fire chance and 61 mil pen. Louisiana only gets up to 53 millimeters of pen. So Aki can hit more targets more accurately for more damage and can pen through more of their armor. So it should have a downside, right? Well, at least the reload is a little longer on these bombers. So at base, it's 200 seconds. Base Louisiana is at 120 seconds. So there is a downside there. You do have to wait a little bit longer for these bombers. However, you can charge up 2 of them. Look in the bottom of the screen right now, and you'll see a little 0 of 8 at the bottom right center there. And yes, you can charge up 2 bombers here. So you don't actually have to use these on cooldown like you do with all the other hybrid ships. So you can charge up 2 of them over, say, 400 seconds, and then dump 2 strikes on the same target back to back, which I will be doing in the second E game. Oh, by the way, we got 2 E games to show you here because the ship is crazy and it allowed me to do some ridiculous things in the matchmaker. Yamato guns are just excellent, okay? So you have 460 millimeter main guns here, giving you 32 millimeters of overmatch. And that is a huge deal at tier 10. Battleship armor extremities are often 32 millimeters. Some battleships only get 32 millimeters of armor everywhere, meaning people don't really get to angle to you. A ship like this one, getting to play middle of the map here like this and just staying angled bow in is going to be so difficult to deal with. It's very tanky. Yamato has always had a bit of a smaller superstructure. The weakness of the Yamato hull, though, is going so broadside, you're exposing that cheek weakness on the Citadel, as well as the upper belt being only 32 millimeters and being a pretty juicy target for small caliber HE and AP. So if you go bow in, though, directly, you're giving up a turret on Yamato, and that didn't feel quite so good. With Aki, though, you're freely able to just sit bow in with your 57 mil deck armor, and it's a very difficult ship to take down. I found it to be very tanky when played in that bow in role. You still can get farmed down, so you got to be a little careful about where you position it. Fortunately for us, though, as you may have noticed when launching the planes, you get rocket boosters when launching the planes for a pretty good duration. you can fly across the map so quickly, so early in the flight path of these bombers. And then they slow down so much, okay? They are actually quite slow, I would say. Like 133 knot cruise speed is not particularly fast for planes. The difference between your rocket boosted speed on launch and your normal cruising speed is pretty massive and a little jarring when you go for a drop just as your rocket boosters are about to run out. That I found a little bit awkward because the speed differences are so extreme. But what it does allow you to do is get across the map incredibly quickly. And if you time it just right, as far as your positioning distance away from the enemy ship, you can time it so your rocket boosters propel you so quickly through the enemy's AA, and then you start your drop right as those rocket boosters disengage, and you take almost no AA damage, even into clumped up AA. There's a lot of techniques that you can run with these boosters to mitigate a lot of that plane damage. The planes are a little bit squishier than Louisiana planes, however, against one-on-ones, you're just always going to get your drops off, okay? And it's really clumped up groups of ships that are going to be a problem. But that's not really something you should have the ability to drop into, let's be honest here. Like, no, should we just have no defense? Okay, I'm starting to rant about planes. Let's get back on topic. Main guns, we should talk a little bit more about those. Yamato main guns here, except we have Shikishima dispersion, which essentially means we have built-in Yamato legendary upgrade. So the dispersion here, much like Shikishima, is tighter than base Yamato. Yamato then can take the legendary mod to get the similar dispersion, but then that's in the 6th upgrade slot, and that means you can't take reload, where Aki and Shikishima can both take reload mod and have that same dispersion. We only have 6 guns here. It's maybe a little bit of common knowledge at this point that I'm not a big fan of 6-gun ships. However, with Aki, it just seemed to work incredibly well. I'm not sure what it is. It felt way more consistently accurate compared to Shikishima. I wonder if it's the turret layout. We have 2 turrets, 3 guns each, instead of 3 turrets, 2 guns each, especially since one of those turrets is pretty far away from the other 2, like the back one with Shikishima. I'm wondering if that leads to maybe a bit of a placebo effect, or I don't know, where I just feel like it's a bit worse dispersion. But Aki seemed to perform quite well. Base reload of 28 seconds, not 30 seconds like on Yamato. Shikishima has 27 seconds, so only 1 second slower reload than Shikishima, with the same dispersion, with the same overmatch level. I'm sure they don't do quite as much damage, but in terms of overmatch and overall damage output generally, it feels like I'm playing a Shikishima that can launch insane dive bombers every once in a while. The balance here feels incredibly out of whack. Louisiana gives up 2 guns compared to Montana to actually gain its dive bombers. It also, crucially, gets so much worse armor. It gets a tumor of sorts on its superstructure that is massive and easily hittable, especially at mid and close ranges. Takes so much damage. Where here with Aki, it is a tiny little flight deck on the back of the ship that's actually armored to 50 millimeters. So it's not even really that big of a weakness. It might even be a little better armor than we usually see on Yamato. So a very, very difficult ship to deal with that does not have to deal with the trade-offs we usually see on hybrid ships. Now here I probably shouldn't have dropped this Jaeger, if I'm being honest with you, but I wanted to see how much damage can we do to a destroyer. 5k on 2 hits. Yeah, we didn't hit that many, but still, that is so much damage, and it's a lot of RNG at that point against smaller ships, but the alpha damage is so absurd. 40k alpha damage on that in-comp from just bombs, and then another 10k from fires, dealing more damage from the bombs, just clicking on them, than actually using our main guns. Now here's what I should have done against the earlier Jaeger, is just hover him, right? Plane spotting. Let's not forget, the most powerful part of planes in the entire game is not their damage at all. It's their intel. The information gathering is absurd. Like, this poor Jaeger, man, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry, Mr. Jaeger, but I just have to show these examples, okay? Because it's so absurd to me how disgustingly powerful planes are before they even do any damage. The spotting is so important. Okay. Moving on here, we have another game where we're playing middle of the map, bow in, and I am going to take a lot of damage, okay? That is the weakness of playing this bow in playstyle, is you can get farmed down rather quickly, although we are going to get a ridiculous amount of potential damage here. we're going to fly into some Valparaiso AA, some Ohio AA, some Wiesbaden AA, which is actually pretty good, a little Schlieffen AA for good measure. And we used our rockets to propel us through that rather quickly. So how much do we get on Ohio that is clumped up with his teammates? Oh, just, 24K. I'm laughing because it's so sad, okay? This is filthy. And in this game, I was intentionally trying to burst out 2 salvos or 2 launches of these planes at once. It doesn't go quite as well here. Notice how we don't get quite as far into this clumped up AA with our rockets this time, and we eat a lot more damage, okay? Don't drop into grouped up ships, okay? I see carrier players often lamenting that they can't do this reasonably and not lose all their planes, but seriously, just go strike the guy on his own. I should have gone after Jean Bart here. Look at how alone he is. But a good example of how insane it is that you can charge up 2 strikes. I think that makes this ship far more powerful because there's not always going to be a prime juicy target for you to go after when these bombers are reloaded. With other ships like Louisiana, you'd probably be incentivized to just send it anyway into that clumped up AA and probably lose your planes like I did on that second drop. However, with Aki, the ability to charge up 2 of them means we're not losing out on DPM from these dive bombers at all when we have one charged up already, because we can always charge that second one up. And we shouldn't be diving into clumped up AA. We should be going after targets on other sides of the map. And usually that would be a downside of slow planes, but the rocket boosters get us there so quickly that it's really not much of a downside at all. Here we nearly go down, but notice we're at nearing 3 million potential damage. These are potential damage numbers that you really can't get in ships like Kearsarge, in ships like Louisiana. Not really, unless you're at really far ranges and someone's just shooting you at 20 kilometers with AP for some reason. Other than that, you just can't survive at these closer ranges, mid-range at 15 kilometers in ships like those. You just take too much damage to your superstructure. But Aki, it's just normal Yamato armor that you can play even more angled because, again, you don't have to worry about using all your turrets, including your back turret. Kiting, though, of course, you are going to be exposing more of your ship, and you will take a little bit more damage then because of that. But it's still very easy to avoid so much damage here. We actually have more HP, by the way, than a Yamato or Shikishima does. They have 97k HP base. We have 102,000 HP base. So even tankier. That means our heals are better too. And while we're talking about the hull here specifically, I should mention the rudder shift. It's got Shikishima rudder shift, not Yamato rudder shift. Yamato rudder shift is at 22 seconds. It's one of the old battleships that was actually not very maneuverable. Yamato and Montana, really slow rudder shifts. Shikishima's got 18-second rudder shift, much like Ohio, based on Yamato or Monty hulls, but then they buff the maneuverability a little bit in these more modern ships. So Aki gets that 18-second rudder shift as well. It's still not fast, but it helps a lot. It's surprising how much that helps. Although our turning circle radius is like 20 meters worse. It's like 920 instead of 900 here. Finally getting ourselves a bow in again, a little further away this time. The Schlieffen is broadside on. I rushed my shot a little bit here and aimed a little bit too low, but 363 knots on launch. And the Schlieffen has decided to push in, so what is his prize? It's gonna be a dive bomber salvo. This is why you don't push in against carriers. You single yourself out as the easy target. So now we click on him. That looks pretty good for, oh, another 20k. Oh man, I am laughing, but it's painful, guys, because I'm not really going to play this ship much again. Like many of these hybrid ships, I don't like them in the game. I really find them to be very game-breaking. The spotting they provide, the amount of damage these bombers can do on top of their spotting is crazy, and I find it not very enjoyable to be essentially bullying the other surface ships in the game is what it feels like to me. Like, what are they doing? What are they going to do against me? Oh, I missed my drop here. Poor bad drop here. And we still get 10k. Wow. I feel like they don't have any way of engaging me when I'm dropping them. It feels like I'm just clicking on them for damage and there's nothing they can do about it. And I don't like that. I'm playing a PvP game. I want there to actually be some PvP interaction where there's things that the enemy can do and there's things that I can do, rather than it just being a one-sided engagement like that. It's my general complaint about carriers, of course, and that applies to hybrids, which makes me just not want to play them that much. Unfortunately, I got to play against them, and so that's why I'm so sad in this video, is knowing that I am going to be that Ohio. I am going to be that Schlieffen, trying to push in and getting absolutely wrecked completely for free, and there was nothing I can do about it outside of running away and clumping up. And if the Aki player is playing well and understands how to use those rocket boosters, even if I clump up, I really could still take a massive salvo anyway. Anyways, our AA is actually pretty bad. It's worse than Shikishima, a little better than Yamato, but it means that if an enemy carrier or hybrid ship comes after you, you're probably going to take a lot of damage. Like I said, the guns just were pretty darn consistent. Nearly 4 million potential damage in this one as well, by the way. Lots of tankiness here. It surprised me how tanky Yamato hull can still be if you play it outside at like 15 to 20 kilometers range, completely bow in. People actually don't get a lot of damage on Yamato hulls at those ranges. It's a close range where you start to take a lot of damage. And now we've done it. We finally got our chance to get revenge on the Shinano. Looks good. We get 13 bomb hits for exactly 0 damage. You know who gets smashed by these bombs? Every single surface ship in the game. You know who doesn't? Yeah, it's carriers with their armored flight deck. Almost seems like there's 2 classes of citizen in World of Warships, huh? Oh, man. Well, E number 2, I guess we'll take it. And good luck, everybody. Good luck, everybody. You know, maybe the scariest part about this is that I actually find myself to be very bad at piloting aircraft in this game. You saw me fighting with the controls a lot, especially on that last Ohio drop where I whiffed completely. Trying to fight between using WASD and my mouse aim on the drops there, and I whiffed entirely. I'm not very good at these aircraft because I just simply don't play them, and yet I was still able to click on people rather easily. There is not a lot of skill involved in it. Someone like me can actually pick up a plane every year, like half a year to a year, and play... How many games did I play? I think I played 5 games total in this thing and get 2 E's followed by many games around that 150, 200k damage while also going and spotting DDs, and there's nothing they can do about it. The power level is insane to me. I really, really wish Wargaming would try to balance these aircraft in the game, subs as well. The lack of interaction is my big issue with it. It feels like when you're dealing with the planes as a surface ship, there's nothing you can do outside of just dodge. And that's really the only advice I have for you, is to clump up far enough away that the rocket boosters aren't going to propel the planes through the AA before they can take any damage. And also then make sure you're forcing the drops in at this angle, okay? If you allow Aki planes to approach you from bow or stern, they will smash you, okay? Especially larger ships, right? But even cruisers are going to take big hits, especially if they're playing on islands. So good luck playing your Des Moines. I mean, who's playing Des Moines on an island anyway these days? poor man. Oh, the power creep in this game. The old ships. Oh, it hurts. It hurts. But it's going to be very, very difficult, I think, to deal with an Aki coming after you. So what is the logical next step of dealing with these island campers? I see this a little bit in Twitch chat while I was playing this too, was, well, at least we're dealing with those pesky island campers, right? Well, what's the next logical step of where do you go if the islands aren't safe? Well, it's the back of the map, of course, right? You're going to camp the spawn, and we already have that. And it's only going to accelerate things. And unfortunately, Aki is only going to be contributing to that problem. I will say, though, Yamato is not a tanky battleship, okay? Maybe I overhyped that or whatever, but going into this, I was expecting to eat a lot of damage because that was kind of the Yamato experience, is you have to play further back than a lot of the more modern battleships with better survivability because you just take so much more damage. But I guess with that expectation going in, I was pleasantly surprised by the survivability of this ship. You still get 57 mil deck armor, and notice how if you go directly bow in, it's not a lot of superstructure that you can actually hit here, and 50 mil plating here, and then this entire flight deck is actually 50 as well. So if we look at Yamato here, it has a section of 50, but it drops off to 32 back here, where Aki's actually extends all the way to the back with 50. So a little better armor, and more importantly, you get to stay completely bow in. There is no bait at close range in particular to use your rear turret and expose this cheek citadel, okay? This is what people are talking about when we say this Yamato cheek citadel, okay? Right here under these front turrets, and it's actually at the back as well. You see how this is angled here? And it's perfectly so that if you aim right under that front turret, when that Yamato is trying to use his rear gun, you just are guaranteed citadels here. So in close range fights, Yamatos basically are forced to go bow in. And at that point, Aki has better dispersion and better reload with the same armor and the same amount of guns. And then has the ability to launch planes. It's only at longer range where Yamato can safely use that rear turret that suddenly it has more gun power. But then we have the planes to offset that other turret, which I think adds way more to the ship. I found this to be much, much stronger than Yamato. Here is the build that I was running. Gun feeder, are we really planning to shoot HE Wargaming? Why is this recommended? I would gladly take Emergency Repair Specialist over that. And then, of course, we need to go grease the gears. While still we are playing bow in, the turret traverse, if you haven't played Yamato in a while, is horrific. So even with grease the gears, it's still over. It's nearly a minute to traverse your turrets. So you definitely want that. Adrenaline Rush, of course, best 3-pointer skill in the game. And then we want the extra heals. I found myself getting to them because I wasn't brawling. I was trying to play mid-range, 15, 18 kilometers out, that kind of thing, to launch planes from, and then just playing bow in. I often got down to my last heals in this ship, I found. Concealment, of course, 14.3 is quite solid detect still. It's no, modern battleship with 12 kilometer detect like a Vermont, but back in the day, like, this is still good detect for battleships. This I would not say is a weak point. It's just normal. Fire prevention, of course, definitely want fire prevention. And then this skill here is taken for aircraft prep time. I said we had a 200-second reload. Well, we get that down to 171, actually. So the reload's a little bit quicker thanks to the commander skills as well as taking this upgrade here, which means we can take more fire damage. We don't have prop mods. We're not quite as maneuverable. It's a more stationary ship and its playstyle. Freely able to take reload mod here because we have built-in legendary upgrade for Yamato, which, by the way, I usually like to take. That extra 7% dispersion, I really enjoy personally. So having that built in is pretty good, allowing us to take reload mods. So now it's a 24-second Yamato with legendary mod accuracy, but no rear turret. And then you gain these absurd dive bombers. Wow, 8,500 alpha. You get 8 of them in a flight, and each one is carrying 2 of those bombs. So I never even ended up getting a 16 hit salvo. We got like 12 hit salvos, 13 on that carrier, but that'll shatter. But like 12 hits was 30K. So add another 4 hits there. Like, you didn't even see the max potential of this yet. Oh, it's terrifying. I'm laughing because I don't know what else to do. I'm worried, guys. I'm very worried. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about this. I am absolutely terrified that this is in the game. Who asked for this, Wargaming? I would love to know who wanted this to be added, because I sure didn't, bro. I think Bremen is very good. I think Hawaii is very good. I think Valparaiso has very little counterplay at close range. But for my money, this is way more busted. And of course, carriers and subs have even less counterplay yet than a ship like this one. So very, very worried about how Wargaming is stewarding things when it comes to these other classes. The carriers and the subs of the world, anything that can launch planes, anything that can go under the water. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. Hopefully not too many people have enough steel to actually get Aki, and maybe they decide to get ships like Bremen and Hawaii instead. But that is my first impressions here on Aki. I don't think I'm going to be playing it too much after this. I would feel bad mostly. There's no counterplay. I don't like ships with no counterplay against them. I want to feel like I'm going on a rant again, but we're at the end of the video, so thanks for watching, by the way, till the end of this video. But here we go. I want to feel like my decision making is better than the enemy's decision making, and that's why I was able to take out the enemy ship. Not because my ship has a gimmick that purely counters the other guy, and there's nothing the other guy can do about it. At that point, shouldn't I just go play a single player game for that power fantasy, right? Just slam God of War down to easy mode and then just go on a rampage, right? Like at that point, right? No, I'm playing I'm playing a multiplayer PvP game. There's some expectation that it's a fair fight, and there's that dopamine rush of when you succeed because you know the other guy had equal or somewhat equal chances to win. And that's just not the case when it comes to aircraft, unfortunately. Okay, rant over. That is Aki. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Hopefully you don't run into one of these.